Let's dial down these sound effects and bring in our friends here, Marty, Jonny, and of course our guest Kyle Paquette. And center stage is about to get wild because we got someone who doesn't just study champion mindsets. No way, baby. He forges them in Olympic fire. Yes, Kyle Paquette, 6 Olympic Games, multiple champions crafted, 19 years transforming self-doubt, Jonny, into self-belief. And Marty, when everybody else is selling morning motivation, Kyle's in the gym doing it just like you, building the minds that stack gold medals while others stacking excuses. Kyle, my friend, welcome to the lab.
Yeah, thanks so much. What a banger of an intro. You got me feeling pumped up here this morning.
That's it.
There we go.
Kyle's joining us from the Eastern time zone of Ottawa, Canada, right?
Yeah, that's right.
How's it going in Ottawa today?
Oh, things are great. Halloween, man. Happy Halloween. This is a great day. It's interesting listening to some of the intros. I had that same shitty conversation with myself at 5:15 when the alarm went off. But again, you got to forge ahead. You got to get through it.
That's right. So how did you win? How did you beat that mind? So it's crazy, right? So Kyle's been to 6 Olympic Games. He teaches champions. Marty, Jonny, yet the guy still rolls over and wrestles with his mind. Common theme here, isn't there, Kyle?
Oh, absolutely. It's interesting. I think when people start to think about these Olympic and Paralympic champions, they think they're immune to that stuff. And that's not the case. They just develop a habit of making sure they're telling themselves the right things in those moments. They just develop a script and they go to that script on a regular basis because they know if they don't have that script, that shitty inner voice is going to dominate over and over.
Yeah. So Kyle, a question we've really gotten into a habit of asking every single guest on this show, and we're going to build a big storybook of these answers over time. I want to hear your morning routine from the moment the alarm clock goes off, wrestling with your brain. What is it? Are you rolling over? Are you spending a few extra minutes with the wife? Are you jumping out of bed, getting on the rebounder like Jonny? Are you, what's that first 9, 10, 12, 15, half hour? What's that first morning routine look like for Kyle Paquette?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. I think what's really important too, though, is that everybody's routine, I think especially those who have crafted their routines in the morning have done so based on who they want to be and the version of themselves they want to bring to that day. And I think that's a really important kind of underlying sort of factor. So for me, what do? I wake up at 5:15 every morning, 5:15, 5:30. Right away, I go downstairs, I crush some water, I go outside right away. Going outside for me is such a key part. And I meet my neighbor, my buddy, one of my best friends, and we go lift together. So we lift for about an hour and 10 minutes.
Cool, man.
I come back home and then I spend time with my wife and my kids because that's, again, such an important part of my value structure.
So hold on. I just want to digest this. So you get up, John. I know John and Marty.
John's about to go crazy.
Yes. So you get up, you go right to the water, and then you head outside, get that fresh air, and you go get your lift in. It's
absolutely. And it's interesting. This wasn't something that's been around for a long time, though. I remember you guys spoke earlier about this idea of being a bit of an imposter and losing respect. Yeah. I remember about 10 years ago, I finally got I got a big opportunity. Got the opportunity to work with the first pro football team, and I was pumped. So I get in the room and I'm getting ready to bang this message out of the park. I'm so excited about motivation, high performance.
Yeah.
I look around, there's about 80 guys in the room, and I am the lowest performing human in that room. I'm the softest bag of milk in the room. I have the least structure in my day, and my mind is the most scattered of everyone in that room. Interesting
that you had that awareness though, Kyle. Like what? So how did you have that awareness? Were you looking around the room and you're like, the aha moment happened? But because that's what's as fascinating to me as anything that oh fuck, man, I'm different than these folks.
That's what it was. Like first of all, they're so physically imposing, right? You get in this room and you see these guys and they're huge. They're specimens. They're animals. Yeah. And then when you start to hear about their routines, you're thinking like, what am I going to share that they're not already doing to some degree? And it's funny. It's so important to surround yourself with great people who can call you out and can challenge you so you don't get too comfortable. And thankfully, I had one of those buddies. He's a professional volleyball coach. He played pro for 18 years. And I remember one time I kept saying, yeah, maybe tomorrow I'm going to start lifting. Maybe tomorrow. This was about 5 years ago. And he said, it's always tomorrow. He says, what's going on here? He said, you're either gonna come lift or you're not. And if you're not lifting, you're not the kind of guy that I want to hang with. And it was a harsh comment, but 5 years later, that turned everything around for me for my physical wellness anyways.
So he called you out, always tomorrow, and you're not the kind of guy. So and you're like, yeah, but I want to hang out with you. No, I don't want to hang out with you because you just keep talking. You don't keep acting. Basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just visited him actually just in the south of France. And the first thing he says is, how's the lifting going? I said, great. And he looks at me, he says, oh, you're still a little bit soft, but that's okay. And it's tough love. But some people, it's funny. I share that story sometimes, and people are like, I don't know if I want to hang out with guys like that or people like that. It's maybe then you don't want to be people like that. Maybe you don't want to actually push yourself and try to see what's possible in your life.
And that's it. That's it, brother. I mean, when he's basically giving you a push, he recognizes what your potential is. He just wants to get you to start taking a hold of it. And when it comes down to it, when we're trying to get somewhere, the idea of having the same people, same like-minded people around us makes such a huge difference as your buddy was just making sure that you meant to be in his circle.
Yeah, absolutely. And we hear this all, I'm sure we've all heard this, right? Where you are the average of the five people you spend the most time with. But there's so much science to support that. And it's all based on our ability to adapt and evolve. Like our superpower as a species is we adapt to the environments we're in. Now, we often think of adaptation from like a physical perspective, but our biggest source of adaptation right now in 2024 is social adaptation. We take on the habits and the behaviors and the perspectives and the values of the people we hang out with. And if we don't like what we're seeing around us, that stuff is coming into us, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. What are we listening to? What are we watching? What are we consuming? That stuff is programming our subconscious, whether we like it or not. That's why it's so important. Like your buddy leaned on you is, look, I know this guy needs to be in my circle, but I need him to step it up because when he steps it up, it steps me up.
Absolutely.
The power of accountability partner, right?
Oh my God, that's such a big part of it, right? No matter what you want to do, people talk about motivation. How do you stay motivated? How do you find it in these moments? And sure, you can talk to yourself till you're blue in the face, but at the end of the day, when you have somebody who you're, again, what you said earlier, Keith, you said, I woke up this morning and I feel like I got to get my ass out of bed because if not, I'm letting my team down.
Because I know they're going, because I know Marty's up already. And I'm like, fuck, what am I? How can I not get going when I know he's already going? And I know John's already going and John's actually 2 hours time behind me. So I'm like, I need to get going because it's a subliminal accountability partner, Kyle.
And I think if we peel back one of the layers, what's such an important sort of first step to that is when you actually surround yourself with people that matter to you and that you care about and that play such an important role in your life.
Yes.
It means so much more to be accountable to those people because of just the role they play. If you hang around with a bunch of assholes who don't matter much to you, really, right? If you bunch of friends who are part-time friends who don't actually matter much in your life and you don't really connect with family that much, you don't really need to be accountable to anybody because at the end of the day, they're not that accountable to you and they're not going to really give a shit.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear you say that because I was at my son's hockey last night with my wife and I was talking about Johnny and Marty and Christina because I have a lot of affection for them. But to hear you say that, Kyle, it's like talking about them last night just as my friends. It subliminally, as I'm getting up this morning going, I can't let them down. So it just mimics what you're saying is that when I'm thinking and talking about them from here in my heart, this just doesn't become like a job. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And then I think, again, one of the strategies that I see so many elite performers make use of is this idea of actively being grateful for those people in their life. So not taking them for granted, but on a daily basis, either reminding themselves or whether it's journaling or even just picking up the phone or sending a message to one of these people in their life and saying, you matter a lot to me. I really appreciate you in my life.
Yes.
My life is better because of you.
Yes.
Well, on that level, I'm 52 and I've been going since I was my late teens, I've just been viciously going after what I want. And during that time, man, I have burned through a lot of people who seemed like they were the fit. And at 52, when it comes down to it, I want to say probably, let's just call it not quite 10, but somewhere between 5 and 10 years ago, I realized, you know what? I am going to be my own accountability partner because these people are coming and going. I'm not investing more time on these fuckers that I'm going to burn up. I know they can run me for a period of time, but then once they lose their win, they fold up and they disappear for a couple of months. That doesn't work in my world. So it's me and me.
Yes. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, John. I see that a lot in experienced performers, right? They get to this level where they start to realize that if this is actually going to be sustainable, if I'm going to be able to do this in an unconditional manner, I need to make sure that I think about the conditions that are most likely to derail me and take that on myself, become my own sort of CEO of my journey.
If I had $1 for every time I burned up someone that was trying to run with me, I would be a wealthy man because everybody can come out of the gate strong.
Yes.
But the question is, look, you're going to start choking. You're not going to have any wind. This is where it matters. And I've been doing this long enough I can operate breathing hard. I can operate without much wind, and that's what makes me. But if you can't do it, don't think you're going to drop out and come back in 3 months. Once you drop out, that's it. This is a one-shot deal.
And not to sound too self-serving, Jonny, but I think that's what maybe has come out of the magic of what's happening here in the morning when people go, how long have you guys known each other? Well, just a few months. Wow, the chemistry you guys have. Because John, Marty, myself, team, we're all just breathing the same air. Like we are. And we're keeping up with each other, holding yourselves accountable, et cetera, et cetera. But before we get to the C Marty Fit Tip, one quick question go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say one thing I want to make sure that I'm also saying in this journey of mine is that I am happy to mentor youngsters that are coming up. I don't need you to do what I do. I just need you to show up.
Yes.
And if you show up when you need to, I don't give a damn how, as long as you show up and you're doing the best you can, that's all that's required. So it's not like I put some massive requirement on someone that's going to come into my world. But if you can't show up when it hurts, that's part of the requirement. So you got one shot. That's it.
It's true. Hey, so before we go to the fit tip here with Marty, Jimmy, and Kyle, I got a question for you, Kyle. 19 years studying performance. What's the biggest myth about morning mindset you've had to debunk with your athletes?
About morning mindset. Yeah, I think the biggest myth that I hear a lot of times is people think that these gold medalists are special or they're different from us. And they're not. They're really
you mean
not.
They don't put their pants on the same way we do?
Oh man, like it's funny. I went to my first Olympic Games in 2014 in Sochi, and I remember I'm pretty young and first time there, and I'm seeing all these high performers for the first time. And what struck me is that success is uncommon. Like these people, these are uncommon humans because they have developed habits and routines that are uncommon. That's what's different about them. It's the routines and the habits they've developed. It's not that they're born with a specific set of attributes. Now, don't get me wrong. So many of these elite performers, they have surrounded themselves either by chance or very deliberately with great people who have supported these great sort of confident beliefs and these sort of this motivational pattern in them. But for the most part, they're doing this because they are really good at engaging in the mundane in a consistent manner. The stuff that is so boring for most people, they find ways to lean into that shit because they know that it's the boring stuff over time that's going to separate them from everybody else.
Don't look at the gold medal. Look at the habits that created the gold medal.